Alright, Jordan, so we are going to look at your start position, then your set position, and then your drive. So there wasn't too much that I saw wrong with your starting position, just a couple things I want to point out. So we're going to zoom in here. The very first thing that I noticed is your right shin is kind of pointed down, and you typically want that shin to be parallel with the ground. Ultimately because we want that momentum and push and force to be going forward, okay? We never want it to go down or up. Okay, and the next thing that I noticed is if you zoom in and you look at your hands here, all your fingers are touching each other, which is fine if you feel like you can support yourself in that position, but usually you get a little bit more support when you're in the set position if your fingers are a little spread out. One of my sprinters has the same problem. She always wants her fingers touching each other. So that's just something to kind of keep in the back of your head. Okay, so let's fast forward and look at you in the set position. We'll zoom out. Okay, so right off the bat, I feel like that I'm seeing a lot of tension in your shoulders and in your back. And I think a lot of that has to do with, let's see. A lot of that has to do with you're not even displacing your shoulders at all in front of your hands, which means your shoulders should be up here in front of your hands, and they're still kind of like right back here, all right? And you can tell just by looking that you've got a lot of tension right there in the top of your shoulders and in your neck even. Okay. Actually, I want to rewind and look at something else. Back to when we were talking about your shin being pointed in like that downward position. How you fix that is by probably taking this pedal and moving it forward one notch, and that might help level things out for you. Okay, zooming out again. So some good things that you have going on when you're in the set position is that it looks like you're in full contact with the pedals, okay, so you're ready to push completely off the pedals. That's a good thing. One of the things that I don't like is I think that your butt might be a little too high or your hips are a little too high, okay? So you would want them to kind of be in this range, and as you can see, they're probably just a tad too high, okay? So you don't have to put your hips up that high. Now, a reason for them being up that high might be because you're not displacing yourself forward a little bit with your shoulders slightly past your hands. Okay, so if you've got a lot of energy back here and you're not displacing your shoulders a little bit here, then you're typically going to have almost like a push back up this way, where everything's kind of scrunched up here in your hips, and that's probably why you've got a little bit of an arch in your back there too. So displace your shoulders into this area, slightly in front of where your hands are at, and you might fix a lot of these problems. Alright, so the next thing that we're going to look at is your drive. So we're going to zoom out for that. Let's see your initial push out of the blocks. And if you look on the right screen, you're just going to see the front view of this too. Okay, so let's look at it at full extension. Okay, so usually what you want to see, if you draw a line from your heel straight through your body, at some point that line should connect to your shoulders up in this area, which it does not. Your shoulders are more down here. Okay, so right off the bat, you're bent at the waist. Okay, why are we bent at the waist? How do we fix that problem? Right? With your initial push, you need to be a little bit more explosive with your arms. Okay, not to mention what we're doing with our arms here, at least on this left-hand screen over here, is I don't know if you noticed this, but watch your left arm and your left knee. They drive at the same time, okay? So for some reason, when you pushed out of the blocks, you pushed with your left arm and your left knee at the same time, which is not how we sprint. We sprint with opposite arm to opposite leg, okay? And something else that you do is when you push out, okay, at some point you should be completely suspended in the air, okay, which means no part of your body should be touching the ground. You don't really hit that, okay? You put this foot down pretty quick, okay? You probably felt really unbalanced because you drove with the wrong arm, so that's something you kind of want to be aware of. Now, remember when I told you you were going to push this pedal forward one notch? Okay, that actually might help you, okay? You do want to have a little bit of separation between your pedals because that way it's easier for your body to identify which is your driving knee and which is your pushing knee, okay? So you're pushing with your forward leg, and you're driving with your back leg, all right? And having more separation between your pedals makes it easier to identify which knee is which and which arm goes with which knee drive, if that makes sense. I know that sounded kind of confusing, but so just when you're pushing out of the blocks, don't try and muscle your way through it, okay? Really try and trust your knee drive, get a little bit more out of it, and you'll be able to get that suspension in the air and be able to push out a lot better and hold those angles forward through your next few strides or steps. So hopefully you've learned a little bit from this. We're going to rewind here and watch everything from start to finish. We'll zoom out. We'll zoom out here. Put it in slow motion, and here we go. Alright, hopefully that helped you out. If you have any questions, shoot me a text or give me a ring, 715-619-0150.